I fall asleep under the trees. I follow where the current leads. Whispers in the woods, they call to me. Listen as the wind awakes the leaves.
Welcome to the Wellness Project Podcast. I am your host, Wilson. Each episode aims to bring mental health awareness through exploring psychoeducation, scholarly literature, professional interviews, and the personal stories of people's journey to mental wellness. So, with that said, let's get started.
I can feel the mountains come alive. It feels like my whole life.
Man, I'm really excited. In 3 weeks, I'm going to be going to my cabin just to kind of unwind, and oh man, I'm so looking forward to it. It's just like it's really one of those places that's magical to me. It's like in the 1800s cabin, you know. It's just got that weird like nostalgia kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
you know. And it's a place to unplug, and I think we need that more than ever today.
Totally.
You know. Just to sort of unwind, but why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Chris Singerling. I am the director of the Ottawa County Improvement Corporation, which serves as the lead economic development agency by advancing, encouraging, and promoting the industrial, economic, commercial, and civic development of Ottawa County.
Whew, man, that's a lot to do.
It's a big undertaking.
Yeah.
But the challenge is fun, and we've got a good team in place and great volunteer leadership that helps us keep the train running on the tracks and doing the things that we need to do to focus on where we're going and how we improve the economic and workforce development conditions in the county.
Yeah, and it sounds more or less like being sort of like a bridge builder, you know, getting people to come to the table to make some real social changes, right?
It is. And the collaboration, it needs to happen across the county with each of our communities. We're unique in that regard, having some islands. But it's also regional partners and even state partners to help us solve those problems. And we're very fortunate to have people that want to do that.
Yeah.
Both down in Columbus and here in Northwest Ohio.
Absolutely. So like, has this organization always been there, or was there a time where they sort of felt like there was a need for this? Because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's been around since I think the late 1980s was when it was first established. Mm-hmm. And obviously the times were different then. Ottawa County was an agricultural county, and it also had light manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. But those times change and things move away. And the important thing is that you put the pieces in place so when those things do happen, there's other things to pick up the slack.
Sure. I mean, it's just, you know, in the world that we live in today, you know, particularly with just technology, you know, you're going to have to get on that train at some point, or at least incorporate it. I know I've been in Ottawa County for close to a decade now, and it's always so sad seeing those big buildings and like warehouses just kind of sitting there. And I mean, some of them, like, I'm like, you know, like, why doesn't someone move in here? And then you find out like the ground is contaminated, or the building would require so much to put into it. But those are, you know, those are things that have to be addressed. A couple of nights ago, I was talking to this buddy of mine, and he said, you know, there are two types of people. There are problem presenters and solution promoters. And I thought, wow, that's pretty profound, you know?
That's very profound.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the county is pretty unique in several regards. We have about 40,000 people in the county, a little over 40,000 right now. Mm-hmm. But we've had that number since the 1981 census.
Wow.
So we've been essentially flat for the last 40 years. And the U.S. population population in the meantime has increased by another 50%. So by those standards, we should have about 60,000 people in the county.
Yeah.
So you take things like that. We're also the oldest county in Ohio. Our median age is 49.3. Some of that has to do with, I think, the retirement component, the folks that come up here, and especially on the east end of the county.
Sure.
Who want to settle down and enjoy their later years in life. But it's being the oldest county, obviously that's a challenge when your numbers are like that population-wise. But we also happen to be the widest county in Ohio. So if you're over in Marblehead, it can take you 45 minutes to get to Elmore.
Yeah. And just I think it's sort of deceiving at times because the population here in the summer, it's got to triple, right?
It's it increases exponentially.
Yeah.
In the summer months, from May to September. And just to put that in perspective, I was talking to our county auditor Jennifer Widmer one day, and trying to put some numbers together that really made sense, because I feel like, and we'll talk more about it as we go through this today, but facts and data.
Yeah.
That is how you show people the way. You talked about solutions. You can paint the picture, but you need to back it up with facts and to convince people that this is the direction you need to head in. And 31.4%, not to get too specific, of our homes in Ottawa County, their property taxes go to a mailing address outside of Ottawa County.
Oh, I see. So there's a lot of folks that have rental properties here, but their residence or the business itself is out of Ottawa County?
In all likelihood,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a rental situation. It would actually be their secondary home.
Okay, I
So
see.
the people that, again, we talk about the east side of the county in particular, but they have a home somewhere else: Toledo, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Southeast Michigan, and they come up here for those 3 or 4 months in the summertime that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But then their rest of the year, they're back somewhere else, and their kids are in school somewhere else. So that's another, as we say, challenge when we talk about housing, which we may get into in a little bit. But we're also uniquely blessed to have a very diverse economy. There's a lot of counties in Ohio that can say they have agriculture and manufacturing as part of their economic portfolio. But what makes us unique is that tourism component.
Sure.
And so I look at that as actually a positive, that we actually have another revenue stream from a tax-based perspective, from a job creation perspective here in the county that most others don't have. In fact, Erie County, I like to say this a lot, there's no two counties in Ohio that have more in common than Erie and Ottawa County.
Right. Especially the Edison Bridge. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love driving over that bridge. You get some of the best sunrises and the best sunsets. And then on the other side, you're going to have a windshield full of bug goo. It's just going to happen.
It's going to happen. And a lot of people can look at that Sandusky Bay and that causeway as a barrier or a boundary / dividing line. But the reality is it actually connects the two of us. And when the two of us have as much in common as we do, it's a pretty important lifeline.
Absolutely. And it's always funny because I'm from Columbus originally. And since I've moved up here, like the local folks are like, oh my gosh, you're going to drive all the way to Sandusky, or you're going to go to Fremont? That's so far. And you think about it on a bigger scale, it's like, it's 20 minutes, folks. It's really not that far.
I used to live in a place where it took me 45 minutes one way to go 8.5 miles every day to work.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining.
Heck no. And it's, it's so close still, but it's always funny. Like my wife and I will go to Sandusky to get a couple things, and then we'll zip over to Fremont, get a few things, and we'll come back to Port Clinton, and people are like, you did all that driving in one day? It's like, yeah, it's not that big a deal. It really isn't. So plus probably the best thing that I like about living here is that like traffic, and it's so wonderful to like drive to work and not be in bumper to bumper, high speed highway traffic like in bigger cities.
Yeah.
So, and then too, like you mentioned the tourist thing, and I don't think it's a general thing, but there are some folks here that just, they're like, oh, it's tourist season, or, the people are coming back. And it's just, I don't know why they feel that way, because you're right. It's such a big part of our industry. And I think culturally, it should be embraced more than looked at as a negative thing.
I couldn't agree more. Folks that think that way, it's unfortunate, because when you look at the last 30 years, and especially Midwestern states like Michigan and Ohio that went to went through back-to-back recessions, and without much space in between. The reality is that this county would be in a lot worse shape in a lot of different ways if we did not have that tourism industry.
Sure.
You talked about all the empty buildings and the companies that have left over the last 30 years or so. The reality is that if we didn't have that industry sector, things would be in a lot worse shape than they are today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when it was a couple years back, they were doing some work on the drawbridge. And I mean, you could see a drastic decrease in people coming over here just because of that one bridge being shut down for, I mean, it was a while, but, you know, and then there's like the fishing industry in this area. I look at this area as more of like a fishing community than a tourist community. And that's not a knock. Like, fishing's awesome. I've got some things to kind of I have we'll say like a big announcement that I'll make on another podcast, but fishing is awesome. And this area is great for it. It's the walleye capital of the world.
Walleye capital of the world, great perch. And when you look at how Lake Erie has rebounded and the rest of the Great Lakes in the last 30 or 40 years, it is pretty important to note that. And the health of the lake and the health of the fish and even the mayfly hatches, which can drive us crazy for those of us that live around here.
Sure.
You get used to it, but it's still a nuisance. But those mayflies actually promote the perch and the walleye.
Clean water.
That means the lake is healthy, and all those things together create a great ecosystem.
Yeah.
A thriving ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And back to your point, greatly enhances our fishing industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, you're making me hungry.
But a little fried walleye.Maybe we can go grab some after this.
Oh, it's the best.
But the tourism industry, the fishing is a huge part of it. But you talked about the rental homes. We have the islands. You have Cedar Point on the other side of the bay. Downtown Sandusky that has had a complete and total resurrection.
Looks great.
In the last 10 years. And so there's a lot of things that make all of that up. It's the families with the homes and those that come up here to vacation and stay at somebody else's or rent one for a week. Those stories they go on and on forever with the people that have that connection. But even during COVID, it was really fascinating because we saw a pretty significant uptick in tourism from a revenue perspective alone, lodging taxes, et cetera, our restaurants, because people couldn't leave Ohio for their vacations.
Yeah.
Or they were afraid to, or whatever the reason was, they didn't, or they couldn't go to another state. And I mean, we have anecdotal stories from all over the place that we had no idea this was here.
Right. Oh, you wouldn't believe, of all of the years that I lived in Columbus, I never once saw a commercial for the Jet Express or for Put-in-Bay or, the Lake Erie Islands. It was always maybe occasionally like a Cedar Point one. But there are so many people that live in Columbus that have never heard of Port Clinton or even the islands for that matter. And I'm like, listen, if you've got 3 hours to spare, you can get here. It's a great drive. It's a little, boring of a drive. But when you get here, you feel like you're not in Ohio. It's the weirdest thing. My wife and I, and part of the reason why we ended up moving up here was we did 18 weekends in a row traveling up here. We would work all week. Friday, our bags would be packed. We'd drive straight up here. We'd have Friday, Saturday, and then we realized, well, let's just stay Sunday because Sundays are fun up here. It's when everyone else is leaving and you're still staying. So we would stay on Sunday and then get up at like 4:00 in the morning and drive straight back to Columbus, straight to the office, and then do it all over again. And we did that for 18 weekends. And we were like, this is just silly. So let's just move up here.
Yeah, it's a special place. And, there's organizations, we talk about collaboration and partners, like Shores and Islands, Ohio. Everybody probably still knows it as Lake Erie Shores and Islands, but they went through a branding and changes last year, and it's now called Shores and Islands, Ohio, which will hopefully encourage and promote, working with state tourism down in Columbus, what this is and the fact that it actually is in Ohio, and we do have these islands.
Yep.
And there's no real chain that has what Erie and Ottawa County do with Kelly, Middle Bass, North Bass, and South Bass with Put-in-Bay anywhere else in the Great Lakes.
Right.
There's other states with islands, but not to the level that we have here on the North Coast.
Yeah, which should definitely be promoted more. And it's just, I was able to go to Middle Bass for the first time this year, and like, what a vastly different place to go to. I'm not going to say that I have a favorite, but it was just vastly different and well worth the 10-minute ferry ride difference from some of the other islands.
Yeah.
By the way, at the Wellness Project, we have merchandise. That's right, all mental health awareness themed products. We've got artwork, we've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got candles. Who doesn't love a good, nice, smelling, fragrancy, cozy candle, right? There's going to be more candles coming. I'm trying to do like a mental health awareness line of candles. So we're going to have one for like anxiety awareness, depression awareness, wellness awareness, which is actually out right now. That's right. You can get your own wellness awareness candle. What does it smell like, right? You have to come in and check it out. But if you hit me up on Facebook, or you can email me and I can give you that information. And thank you for your support.
You're the one who feels like home.
It's they're each unique in their own regard, and that's also what makes them special. Is you're not seeing the same thing everywhere you go.
Right.
The diversity is good.
Yeah.
So organizationally, with the OCIC, we have an executive board that has 8 members on it right now. They kind of oversee the monthly operations and have the fiduciary responsibility. The staff at the OCIC reports to them. But we also have almost 60 trustee and associate members. And they make up, there's about 60% of them are a cross-section of the business community. And there's representation from each of those sectors that we talked about previously. But the other 40% are elected officials and political appointees. So commissioners, county commissioners, mayors, the county engineer, the county auditor, et cetera, et cetera. And they meet quarterly and help us guide the direction of the organization and serve as its voice across the county as well. So when they're in each of their communities, they're hopefully talking about the things that are going on and maybe the things we could do differently and the things that we're doing well, and how we enhance those. But it is nice to have that type of cross-section and group of people that really know what's going on and the things that we're trying to do.
Yeah. That's a lot of different talking points and different directions to, I'm sure, keep you guys busy.
It does. And we went through a strategic plan review in 2021 last year, and we surveyed and interviewed our board of trustees and associate members, as well as other key stakeholders from the communities across the county. And that strategic plan has 5 pillars to it. So when you talk about busy, there are a lot of different pieces to what economic and workforce development looks like. But this is modeled after the comprehensive community development approach. And with that plan, we actually track metrics within a strategic plan and update our OCIC board quarterly so that they can see where we are with completing the roughly 40 different metrics that we're tracking, objectives that we have.
Wow.
And so there's a lot. And some of those are short-term goals, and some of are kind of medium-term, and there's others that are ongoing and then long-term. So it's not like we have to do all this in a single year. It's a 3-year plan, and but it's a living, breathing document, and it's going to change as we accomplish things, or we determine that there's things that that's not really working, and so we take that off the list and focus on something else. But anybody that wants to learn more about that, it's prominently displayed right on our website at OCIC.biz, and I'd encourage you to go and check that out and find out what it is that we've been up to.
Absolutely. Yeah. What has been, I'm sure there's been many, but is there a project or a goal that's exciting to you, or that, like, one that really resonates for you personally?
Well, all of them do, because we talked about the 5 pillars. They are all very important to the long-term success of the county from an economic and workforce development perspective. So you've got business retention and expansion, and that's making sure that our existing businesses have the resources and the workforce that they need to grow. So we work with strategic partners both regionally at the state level, the Regional Growth Partnership, which is Northwest Ohio, and then their mothership organization, Jobs Ohio, which many have probably heard the name but didn't really know what they do. Their primary focus is economic development. So when you hear about the Intel facility going in outside of Columbus in Licking County, that was a Jobs Ohio initiative. And so you look at Northwest Ohio and the Regional Growth Partnership, their focus is here in the 17 counties in the northwest corner of the state. But then, so we do company visits, both big and small, throughout the year to kind of gauge where they are with workforce. Are they thinking about expanding? But then it's also collaboration with our 6 chambers of commerce and making sure that they know what the things that we can do to be helpful with them for both their big and small businesses in their communities, and whether that's identifying grants and loan opportunities, or just making sure that they know what it is that we're doing, so that we can all be, pardon the boating term, but in the same boat, rowing in the same direction.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a challenge to for us all to be on the same page, but that's the goal. It's that whole thing about being a solution promoter is coming together, coming up with a strategic living plan, and then let's start out, get out there and start making it happen.
Right. And I wish I could do it all by myself.
Yeah, but
actually,
you can't, Chris.
No, I don't wish. That might kill me. But
right.
It's nice to have partners in this, and they're bringing different perspectives to the table, because it's an important piece of us moving the ball forward. And none of this is going to happen by flicking a light switch.
No,
it's going to take time. And it's going to take vision and some hard work from a lot of people to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being open-minded, there's always this struggle of, well, this is the way we've always done it. And, this is the way that we like it. But is it really? And is it bringing in new people? There's always that pull of some folks don't want there to be new or to bring in the next generation. And then it just kind of stifles out. It just kind of stays stagnant. And kind of like what you said, I mean, it's sort of been like that,
for a while. And there's a lot of people that want good things to happen.
Definitely.
But you also, it's when you go through difficult times, it's really hard to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and move forward. And especially when it happens for an extended period of time, it makes it even trickier, right?
Oh, definitely. And infrastructure is always that big catchphrase word that's always, it's nobody wants to touch it, but man, it needs to happen. I mean,
it does, and it's expensive. And the federal government only has so much money. The state only has so much money, and so it's prioritizing each of those. But then local communities, if you're vibrant and things are going well from an economic perspective and from a tax revenue perspective, you have the ability or the resources to help enhance those infrastructure projects.
Yeah,
and that's where you then get the state and the federal dollars to complement you in that regard.
Right. I like that word, complement, rather than sort of be the bread and butter or to just do it. You still need those grassroots efforts. Those are the backbone, I think.
You have to have skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having handouts or taking something from someone else all the time is the fast track to complacency, right?
Totally. Yeah, I think you and I were talking before about hand ups, not handouts.
Exactly. And so we're fortunate to have partners like that to work with. The second pillar that we have is new business attraction. And so we talk about the empty buildings and how we fill those. Luco, or a logistic company now, coming over from Sandusky here to Ottawa County early on in 2021, filling the big building in the Lake Erie Business Park. Probably our biggest asset in terms of its location and the fact that it used to be an Army proving ground. There's a lot of potential there. But we also have the Lake Winds Industrial Park, which is right on the eastern edge of Oak Harbor, right behind our offices in the Job and Family Services building, across from the fairground. There's space available there as well for attracting new businesses. It's just a matter of finding those that want to be here or have a need to.
Sure.
And what we talk about the region and the growth, and we look at Toledo and the metro area. It was the number one MSA, 250,000 to 1 million people in the entire country in 2020 for new business development.
Wow. Yeah.
So your second tier markets, that's your metropolitan areas. So not your big cities, Chicago, Boston. It's that next level down.
Yep.
They were number one as a region, as a metropolitan region, in terms of new business development. The beautiful thing for us in that regard is we're right next door.
Oh yeah, it's going to cause a rippling effect. It's like the word's out, folks. Come to Ohio.
You got it, man.
Yeah.
And especially on the west end of the county.
Yes.
Genoa, Elmore, and even Oak Harbor. I think they have the most to gain from that. And you said ripple. There's another water pun that we've managed to work into this podcast today. So kudos to you.
There you go.
One of them that is people I think are going to be hearing a lot more about in the near future that we look at when we talk about assets is the Erie Ottawa International Airport. It is the only airport between Toledo Express and Cleveland Hopkins with an international designation. That means we have a customs office. It's monitored by Department of Homeland Security. And the U.S. Customs Office and that international capability, because of our close proximity to Canada and Pelee Island, really positions us for the future of especially aviation. And what I mean by that is the term is advanced air mobility. Ohio is at the tip of the spear in advanced air mobility in the entire country.
Always has been.
And the slogan that they use now is it's the third generation of flight.
Wow.
And because of the assets that we have in this immediate vicinity, I think there's a tremendous amount of potential. So I'm going to make a little plug and encourage you to have Clay Finken, the director of the Erie Ottawa International Airport, on to talk more about advanced air mobility. But when you talk about the future and positioning ourselves, and not looking at the past, but looking forward, the potential that this industry sector has could really change the face of Ottawa County.
Oh yeah, I mean it's amazing to see how busy that airport has become. I mean, every time that I drive by there to go to Casa, my favorite Mexican restaurant, there's just bigger and bigger and bigger private jets, helicopters. It's kind of amazing. My buddy and I were going to fly over to North Bass Island this year. We didn't get to do it, but I went in there for the first time. Super nice. And I was just shocked. Like, I don't know why I didn't put two and two together, but if I wanted to go to Canada, it's like a 5-minute drive to the airport. I hop on a plane and I can be in Canada in like less than an hour.
Pelee Island is 18 nautical miles from Port Clinton, Erie Ottawa International Airport. And Leamington, Canada, which is a private airfield over in Ontario, is only 34 nautical miles away.
Wow. I will say, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but on Tuesday, I have an appointment to get my passport. I've never had one.
Well, I'm going to challenge you to use that.
Oh, yeah.
First chance you get next spring to get over to Pelee.
Absolutely. And it was crazy because it still got that small town feel to it when I went to the airport and, I just kind of pulled in and like I was just asking questions and the guy behind the counter was like, yeah, the pilot's sitting right there on the couch. He can take you over tomorrow. And I'm like, excuse me? Like the guy was just sitting there. I don't want to give a direct quote, but it was very reasonably priced. And what a cool experience for you and your spouse or, you and a friend to hop on a little plane. I don't know what they call them. But that'd be a neat trip, just a fun experience.
Yeah, it really is, and strongly encourage it. It's not terribly expensive, not as much as you think it would be. And not to date either one of us, but I can't help but to show wings.
Yeah.
When we talk about that small airport and the bouncing around that they do for local flights. But it's a great asset. The airport is, and having the access to the islands, and like you said, another country.
Sure.
Just not too far away.
No, it really is close.
Yeah, and just so I think it's really important before we say goodbye today that to remind everybody, it is not just me at the Ottawa County Improvement Corporation. We talked about the volunteer leadership in their role in what we do, but none of this would be possible without our staff. And there's a team of 5 of us that are committed to all of this. And Jessica Shoviak, who handles all of our communications and marketing, but she also is the one that's working directly with the businesses, with those business retention expansion visits, working with our 6 chambers, making sure they have all the tools they need, along with other things. And then you have Monica Metcalf and Catherine Adams, who are in our Ohio Means Jobs office.
Okay. Yeah.
They're the ladies I was talking about before. They can help you if you're an employer or a job seeker.
Awesome.
And then to kind of tie things up, Ashley Spangler, who does double duty. She works with Danbury Schools as their career coach, but she also is very involved in our Skilled Trades Academy and the STNA program, but that all encapsulating career readiness component. And
Totally.
Working with the other career readiness coaches across the county. So they all kind of have their role. They're very important ones.
Absolutely.
And so I'm lucky to have them, and actually we're all lucky to have them. So on behalf of them, thanks again, Michael, for having us here today and able to talk about this.
Absolutely, buddy. And tell everyone back at the office that I said hello, and we'll keep in touch, okay?
That sounds like a plan. Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
Hold each other close, walking in the rain. You were like a picture and I the frame. You were like the air and I a plane.
By the way, at the Wellness Project, we have merchandise. That's right, all mental health awareness themed products. We've got artwork, we've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got candles. We're gonna have one for like anxiety awareness, depression awareness, wellness awareness, which is actually out right now. That's right, you can get your own wellness awareness candle. What does it smell like, right? You have to come in and check it out. But if you hit me up on Facebook, or you can email me and I can give you that information. And thank you for your support.
There's a million places I could go, but so